Winston walk in the room?
No. Our report will not reveal that.
Was the other individual an FSU player?
No.
Mr. Meggs, did you talk to anybody from Florida State, Coach Fisher, or anybody else?
No, sir. No, sir, I have not.
Was there a relation? There was no relationship beforehand between the two. Afterwards, no relationship either, right?
Between our victim and
Mr. Winston.
none that I'm aware of.
What about with the other person?
Clearly, there was a relationship.
I guess, was there a sexual assault?
Well, that's kind of why we're here. The allegation was that there was a sexual assault. Our job was to figure out if we could prosecute the case, and so we endeavored to do that.
Isn't it fair to say that if there was a sexual assault, you would have prosecuted the case?
If we had evidence to prove the elements of the crime of sexual battery, we would have prosecuted the case.
So do you believe there may have been a sexual assault, but not the evidence to back it up?
I know there was a sexual event that occurred, and one party says it was not consensual, and apparently the other side says it was, and that's our job, is to figure out if we had a forceful act, and we did not feel that we had a sufficient evidence to go forward to bring the case to trial to prove that it was not consensual.
Can you talk a little bit about the reasonable likelihood of conviction standard and what didn't make sense in terms of that?
Well, what reasonable likelihood of a conviction standard basically means is a law enforcement officer can make an arrest if they have what we call probable cause. Probable cause is reason to believe a crime has been committed and the person that they want to arrest is the person who committed that crime. A reasonable likelihood of a conviction is basically souped up probable cause. You raise it up a little bit a higher level, because there is a logical reason for that, and I'm sure that it will make complete sense to you, because when we get into a trial situation, the jury has to be convinced beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. And so that's why we use that standard, and we use that in every case that we prosecute. And I think that's probably all over the country.
What do you wish the TPD did differently on this, and why?
I haven't thought about that very much.
About three more, guys.
Mr. Meggs, can you tell us what time the blood alcohol test was administered in relation to when the incident allegedly happened? How many hours passed before we got this .0 blood alcohol reading?
I do not know the exact time. That's in the file, but we did try to extrapolate back from the time it was taken back to when this event would have occurred, and we were of the belief that it would have probably been at about a 1-0 by using the extrapolation, and that's people smarter than me that do that kind of stuff.
Is that considered intoxicated under Florida law?
Well, you're not supposed to drive at a .08, but.
Mr. Meggs, the victim's attorney indicated that they never expected this to go public. Once it did, obviously, you did interview her. Was she willing to testify in this case?
I believe she would have been, yes. I believe she would have cooperated.
There seems to be a disagreement with the police and the victim's attorney on was she willing to go forward last February? What did you find in that case?
I didn't look into that aspect of it.
Two more.
Did you look into the possibility of other victims associated with either of the two men?
Oh, no.
And so when again, the delay of when the victim identified who she thought the men she had sex with, the time lapse between basically 10 months that lapsed or 11 months that lapsed between the time the police actually got the DNA sample. You have no criticism of the Tallahassee Police Department for allowing that time to go by that much.
You know, you ask kind of convoluted questions sometimes. So run that by me one more time.
Okay. The Tallahassee Police Department had the identity of the accuser, or of the accused, Winston and the other person. They knew that in mid-January. They didn't obtain a DNA sample until mid-November. And you have no criticism for why that didn't happen?
Well, for us to make our determination, that really is immaterial. It is his DNA. It was there on December the 7th when they did the rape kit. It was there when we did the examination. So criticizing does not accomplish a great deal. His DNA is, in fact, there. So it did not change.
Mr. Meggs, is this case closed now?
Yes, it is.
Was there any sign that she expressed some hesitancy or reluctance throughout this process or moving forward with the charges? Was she a reluctant person?
You know, a sexual battery case, I don't find any. I don't believe I've ever met a sexual battery victim that was excited about going to court and testifying. There's always that reluctance. These are very serious cases. They're very hard cases to deal with, and I believe, you know, my deal with this is if we have a case, we're going to pursue it. If the victim will testify, and we expect them to testify and tell the truth, sometimes the truth is not easy to come out with and say, and these cases are always tough to do, and no one wants to go do it, and so to say there was reluctance, there's always reluctance. You know, we have that not only just in sexual battery cases. So many people just don't want to get involved at all. And so we have to do a lot of things to keep people involved. But we do expect, if we call a witness, for the witness to testify and tell the truth.
Say, was this a second DNA that was just discovered earlier this week, evidently, or confirmed earlier this week? Was that known to you through your interviews with the woman? Had she acknowledged having sex with two men that evening?
She acknowledged having sex with her boyfriend, yes. But she wouldn't tell me who her boyfriend was. And being a shrewd investigator, we found out. And we got his DNA. And then we confirmed.
And even after that was confirmed, what was the, can you give any time frame on that? That knowledge coming to you that there was...
It was before the sex. It was the DNA that was unknown was on the shorts of the that the person was wearing. The DNA of Winston's was on her underwear.
Any idea why she was hesitant to tell you who her boyfriend was?
Well, tell us about your girlfriend.
Did you, and so when
I'm just getting at the idea of, like, then presumably you brought that back to her attention, that now there's a confirmation that you would have sex with a second man. She remained insistent at the beginning of this week that she had been assaulted.
I haven't talked to her this week.
Okay. What has her story crumbled at all in your conversations with her?
Her recall of the events of that night have been moving around a good bit. There's some memory lapses. There were some major issues, and we were trying to determine about the memory lapse, what would cause that, intoxication. Some of y'all could tell me will cause you to have memory loss. Sometimes drugs can cause you to have that, and we found no evidence of any kind of major impairment or use of drugs. So,
but she never backed away from her claim that she had been assaulted.
Has not yet that I know of.
Were the inconsistencies in her story a major reason why you're not charging anyone?
They were problematic in our. It's not inconsistencies; it's lack of memory most of the time. There was some allegation that she had her head was hurt, but there was no outward signs of trauma, and so none of that was confirmed.
Was there any evidence of drug use by anybody in this case?
I don't think so.
When you interviewed her boyfriend, did he know Jameis Winston?
He did not, and he did not really interview with us.
So you didn't interview him?
He would not speak with us. We spoke with him and got his DNA.
Mr. Meggs, what reason did the alleged victim give for not being able to identify the suspect?
She didn't know him. That's what she said originally.
So would you describe her as forthcoming or less than forthcoming?
I think she was somewhat torn and wasn't real sure about a lot of things. So I think she was forthcoming as much as she felt like she could, wanting to protect her family, herself, her own name. And that is not an uncommon thing for victims of crimes to do. They want to protect family. They want to protect their own name. They want to protect friends. They don't want to tell everything they know. And so...
All right, one more, guys.
But, you know, in the timeline that was released by TPD, they indicated that the victim at some point did not want to move forward. Talk to me about that. Have you been able to validate whether that actually happened or not?
You know,
and do you have to have that to move forward?
No. You know, one of the things and this is real important, you know, obviously we cannot move forward without a victim's corporation, except in certain kinds of cases. So her lack of cooperation and her lack of helping us, you know, would hinder the case. But you just need to remember that the cases are brought in the name of the state of Florida. And it's our job to determine if we have conduct that occurred in our community that merits punishment in the name of the state that we can prove. And if we can do that without regard to whether the victim, you know, obviously you don't have to have victim cooperation. John Hutchins just finished a murder trial. His victim in that case did not cooperate because he's dead. And so the case was brought in the name of the state of Florida. And that's what we would do. So now, if your victim comes in and says nothing happened, then that's a problem. And you'd certainly like to know that before you pick a jury.
Mr. Meggs, can you talk just in general, because I know we're cutting off, just what has this last 3 weeks been like for you?
I've got to know a lot of y'all in the last 3 weeks, at least on the phone, and it's been rather busy. And you know, I guess I could say it was there is a level of frustration with this, and I understand and I appreciate y'all doing the job that you do and the job that you have done. You know, I wish everybody had as much interest in all the other crimes that we have occur in our community as you did in this one. But
how many man-hours would you say your office put into the investigation?
Well, we worked. We had 13 working days. Our office did, and Jason Newland was here late into the evening most of the time, and we've been so I don't know 10 hours a day times 13. Probably has that many hours. We've made several road trips, and we've contacted people in Ohio, and we've contacted people in the state. We've had a lot of cooperation from a lot of other folks. We enlisted the help of another state attorney in Florida to help us with this investigation. I enlisted the help of a prosecutor in Ohio to help us up there and find a witness. And we were a day behind him, but we were moving, and we did find him. So we've worked pretty hard on it.
You described the victim as she doesn't back away from her story. However, she's not cooperative? Is that what you're saying? She has not been cooperative?
Her testimony has basically some problems with it. She can't remember some of the things, and that is a problem. And then some things she can remember, and so it does have these problems, which leads us to the point that we did not feel like we could move forward with the prosecution.
Okay, guys, thanks. The public records, I know you guys are going to have to file public records requests individually to get the full report. We're guessing it should be ready in the next 24 hours?
I think it will be ready, I don't know. What do you think, Ms. Georgia?
Certainly in the next 24.
And what we plan to do, we have all of that. We put it on a disc, and the disc will be available to you so you can look at everything that we have, most everything that we can. And we have redacted. I would remind you that Florida has a rape shield statute, and you should not use the victim's name in this case and publish it. that's a crime, and we got plenty of work, and so
Mr. Meggs, can you
don't make us come after you.
Thank you guys for being here.
confirm that Tim Jensen didn't know the DNA results, who the DNA results belonged to before they were released?
I have no idea what Tim Jensen knew.
Yeah, if we're going to start asking what Tim Jensen knew, we're